What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 23 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Settra, Great King the Imperishable, Khemri Kara, the Great King of Nehekara, King of Kings, Opener of the Way, Wielder of the Divine Flame, Punisher of Nomads, the Great Unifier, Commander of the Golden Legion, Sacred of Appearance, Bringer of Light, Father of Hawks, Builder of Cities, Protector of the Two Worlds, Keeper of the Hours, Chosen of Petra, High Steward of the Horizon, Sailor of the Great Vitae, Sentinel of the Two Realms, the Undisputed, Begetter of the Beget, and many, many more. Begetter of the Beget? Okay, that's an interesting one. But anyway, many more campaign. So as we saw, man, we're only like 1/5 or 1/6 of the way through his titles. Oh, good lord. Anyway, as we saw last time, other than fighting Malice, well, actually we had some rather nice fights, though the Malice one was particularly interesting as we hadn't fought Dark Elves before. We got the Long Victory achievement, which is lovely. Of course, for us, Long Victory doesn't occur until we acquire all 8 out of 8 of those Books of Nagash, and we are still very much on the way. We still have probably a few moves left to make in this particular turn, actually by the looks of it not many, and then we can continue looking for those fights. Alright, so who still actually does have to move here? We've got King Settra, who is going to most likely besiege Qurashi Dunes. Wait, Qurashi Dunes, are you a walled settlement? Because you don't have the little, wall symbol over you. This says adds defenses to the settlement battles here will be unwalled settlement battles. Well, isn't that lovely? You can, okay, you have to move into regular stance. All right, Settra. That's kind of funny. Settra was built to be the sort of fear anti-leadership army, and it's funny because he's basically been fighting the worst possible foes to fight with this type of army. First, the ogres, which could run away immediately upon being, forced to fly or run away from the army, and now undead who don't really care about it, which is, well, unfortunate on the one hand, though on the other hand it is also kind of neat in the sense that it's always nice to have the most difficult possible opponents for a particular army composition, so can't be too mad about that. Anyway, we have Ushabti, we have, okay, I'm just looking at what we want to put into points here. Legion of the Asp will get the Screaming Skull catapults, which are not quite as leveled as the statue areas, so let's go for the Ancient Stone. We'll go for the Unfading Memory for the various Tomb Guard, Resurrect. We don't have anything that will give benefit of Dune Rider. We'll do Blessing of the Asp next. Necrotect before we fight. Strengthen Incantations and Empower the Titans for our 2 statue types. Are you staying on the chariot? No, I think you two are not, so I guess we could go for the Blessings of Walat on both of you. Although, again, I am tempted by the Scorpion Armor, I will admit. Blessings of Walat, and I guess we'll go for We Are the Elite here. Might as well pop in Ceremonial Bandages and Trapped Soul while we're at it, and then you can do the exact same thing. We Are the Elite, max out Empower the Titans, Strengthen Incantations, Grand Master Disciple of Walat, Trapped Soul, Ceremonial Bandages, and do you have 1 extra level? Actually, you have 1 less level. What did I not get with you that I got with the other guy? Oh, I went to Master Bone Sculptor. Alright, fair enough, we could do that as well. Yeah, funnily enough, if the campaign were to have lasted like another 20 episodes, we probably would have been able to get the Carrion all over the map, hitting as hard as Ushabti. They're currently at 70 weapon strength, nearly double, which is pretty darn solid, and a fair bit of that is armor piercing. Granted, they're still just hilariously fragile, as we saw them essentially lose a fight to Nobbler Flingers, but nonetheless, they would be able to hit very, very hard, which at least would be entertaining. And besides, you can globally recruit them in 1 turn, so if they die, they're easy to recover. Yeah, would just have to keep spamming that Disciple of Walat. But I guess we could do the similar sort of buff thing for the Tomb Scorpions, but they're already so strong that it's not, the most critical thing in the world, let's say. Anyway, what do we want to do here? Where is this? Cooldown reduction for spells. Oh, we probably want Vicious Curses, don't we? Fine. Alright, High Priest will go for Runic Staff into Incantations of Preservation. And we'll go for the spell cooldown, maybe, because the Death Priest is actually pretty critical to this army rather than the miscast chance. We will also get the miscast chance, but in a bit. Otherwise, we'll probably want to grab that Arcane Conduit, and that's all the points we can play around with. Alright, setup. Looks like you're fighting first today. Big old pile of Grave Guard and such, but you know, 2 stacks that are immune to the anti-leadership stuff. Well, not immune to the anti-leadership, really, because they'll start melting away earlier. But at the very least, immune to the psychology aspect of it. Anyway, go. Alrighty, here we go. Now, we may not be able to take advantage of the psychology effects and the ability to make enemies rout immediately upon contact with this army by facing off against undead, but what we can see is how effective our anti-leadership will be in forcing enemy units to basically start disintegrating immediately. We've got the discouraged application plus take cover application, meaning a -14 debuff from the Screaming Skulls alone, which is pretty solid. Though speaking about the Screaming Skulls, it looks like the enemy AI was clever enough not to keep the bats just tied up within their settlement floating overhead, but instead have decided to move them against our units of Screaming Skull Catapult, and good for them. It will mean possibly some damage for them. We're going to apply Nerus for that physical resistance, and hopefully that unit will survive until our other units close the distance. So here come our Ushabti as well as our Celestial Lions, the 2 units that were essentially the closest to get there. And they should be able to clear out those bats rather quickly, I imagine, especially with a little bit of help from summoned skeletons from one of our Lich Priests. Well, I guess our one Lich Priest. Technically, Setup doesn't have the same type of ability, which is a bit unfortunate. I think that SFO should add that Disciple of Assyrian thing that the regular Lich Priests have to Lich High Priests as well. I feel like it's a little bit odd that they have such an important ability and the High Priest versions do not. But anyway, I digress. With that, the enemy bats are out of the picture. We've taken a little bit of damage on various of our units of catapults, but overall, we managed to protect them just fine. And the actual battle wasn't slated to begin until the Hyro Titans tore down the enemy platform or barricade in the way here, so it's about time. And the barricade is now down, and we just have to wait for the Ushabti to return. Although we could do a little bit more bombardment from his Screaming Skulls, they seem to be doing decently well. We haven't engaged in combat with these Black Knights, for example, but they are down to about half HP, and are kind of just generally milling around. I mean, I guess their only choice is to charge at the Hyro Titans, standing at the former location of the barricade, or keep taking Screaming Skulls to the face. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation. Alrighty, and that's alright for us, though. We'll take that opportunity now that the Ushabti are back where they should be. We will be moving up the rest of our army. Of course, we'll need to switch the Screaming Skulls to fire upon other enemies, but that's fine. Alrighty, nearly ready there. Maybe a few more shots. Let's just speed it up as we've, I think, seen enough of the bombardment. Ooh, gonna start the day off with a little Skull Storm in the enemy's way. If they're gonna mill around, maybe this will actually push them towards us. I wonder if all the zombies in Bel Aliad are from the Bretonnian and Imperial Crusades out here. And I guess all of the conflicts with, well, other than the Imperial Crusades and such, we would have had conflicts between Hekara and Araby as well. I believe Tyrant of Araby is also one of the titles of Settra, unless I'm mistaken. But anyway, let's speed it up a teensy bit. It looks like the last remnants of one of the units of zombies are actually going to push on forward. And, I mean, they're obviously not going to do anything to our Tomb Guard here. 88 armor, still a little bit weak. And by comparison, I mean, it's pretty hard to get the armor of Tomb Guard up to the levels of other factions, kind of interestingly enough. Like, I'm pretty sure you can get Graveguard armor way, way higher with the various stats, techs, buffs, etc., etc. And I also believe, like, for example, just thinking back to the Karl Franz campaign, we were able to get Bretonnian peasants, not peasant mobs, but the, I forget what they were called, the men-at-arms units, with halberds there. We were able to get their armor up to like 150 or something like that. Granted, we built specifically for it, but the fact that it was possible is still pretty interesting. Anyway, the Ushabti charge forth. And start whacking away at those units of Graveguard as the Tomb Guard fight the Graveguard as well down at their feet. And the enemy Graveguard 95 armor, so even unbuffed garrison units of Graveguard are more highly armored than our Tomb Guard. Yeah, see, I feel like, well, okay, I talked about this in the early game, but I think Tomb Princes specifically need changes to sort of, I don't know, match the effectiveness of now in SFO, at least Empire Captains and White Kings, because I just, generally speaking, don't find them useful. And I think what they need to be adjusted with is every Tomb Prince needs to have as one of their skill lines, similar to the sort of skink buffing lines from Skink Chiefs. You'd want something like a +3/+3 melee attack and defense to all units of skeleton warriors and spears, basically base and Hakarn warriors in the army, not Tomb Guard, just +3/+3 melee attack and defense. This would allow you to get to those guys' stats up significantly higher by having Tomb Princes take command of them, and thereby making a use of them longer. And then the other aspect of that skill line should have probably a plus maybe 5 armor per Tomb Prince to all Tomb Guard in the army as well, without the +3/+3 melee attack and defense. That way they could sort of be infantry sub-commanders and buff up the Tomb King infantry in general. Ideally, they'd also maybe summon a small unit of something, just like the White Kings and the Empire Captains do, but at least that, because right now they're really kind of just plain bad. They only act as fast-moving, potentially anti-large specialists with their halberds, which admittedly is something that is needed in the Tomb King's roster, but we can certainly use our range units and any of our constructs, even if they're not anti-large constructs, to deal with other enemy large units. Justice for Tomb Princes is what I'm saying. I do like that Curse of Joff that they have, but you can't use it until they're down to, what is it, 25% HP, 50% HP, whatever it is. So yeah, still not doing it for me there. Anyway, the battle continues while I've been ranting away. We're using those Blood Roars and whatever other debuffs that we have to absolutely cripple the enemy's leadership. And this may not be a contact effect army, technically speaking, but it does actually have a fair few contact effects available to it. And Bone Crusher, Banish Toxic Venom, so that would be Bone Crusher from... Actually, I'm not sure who the Bone Crusher is from. Oh, it's from the Higher Titans. Alright, so Bone Crusher from the Higher Titans, Banish from Setep himself, Toxic Venom from the Necrotects. Somebody's caused... Oh, the Celestial Lions cause bleed. We've got Cavalry Bane from the Tomb Guard. Need a little bit of armor sundering here, don't we? Wait, do we have... Wait, did I do banners in this army? I'm drawing a blank on it now. Oh, did I not want to do the banners on the Tomb Guard because then it would take away their Cavalry Bane? That would give them additional armor, admittedly. I will give it some thought. For now, though, the enemy is in something of a bad shape here as we continue bombarding them with Screaming Skulls and our rest of our army. And we'll move on. And I'm going to take position and take advantage of the choke points here and see if the enemy is willing to charge towards us in those blobs. The Tomb Guard will be first to the fray this time around rather than the Ushabti. Certainly not the Higher Titans because they're the slowest moving elements of our army. I do like the dark purple color scheme. Okay, I like most color schemes, but I do like the dark purple color scheme on these guys in general, but also the fact that they are very, very different looking from our own units. easy to pick out where the Tomb Guard are facing off against the Grave Guard is what I'm getting at. Anyway, the Ushabti have arrived. A Skull Storm will pin a few of the enemies, and we can see all of these enemies by getting hit with all of those leadership debuffs. The Sepulchre's ability, well, just basically everything at once. I mean, look at their look at the little sidebar they have in terms of their contact effects. And they're not having a good time. Minus 55 leadership, and they certainly started, even the Grave Guard started melting away even at like 90% of their HP, which was pretty solid. Alright, we can see the comparison here where where we're not currently using our anti-leadership debuff units. And just wanted to sort of separate these guys. Just have the Tomb Guard hold the line here and make that comparison. Alright, we got new enemies to feel the assassin. Oh wow, that unit of Crypt Ghouls must have walked into that Skull Storm because it just lost like 70% of its HP extremely rapidly. And see, once again, we can see the leadership just completely disappear on every one of these units. Again, the AI is not using the vampire counts correctly in that it doesn't have the Necromancer's corpse carts and just generally speaking support for their units, which is obviously why they would get overwhelmed. If we were facing off against a... Ooh, there we go, charge of the Ushabti there. If we were facing off against a more proper sort of a line of enemies, they probably wouldn't be melting away nearly as quickly. Alright, new unit of Grave Guard comes on in, full HP for now. Well, let's see. I think we might have run out of our active leadership abilities at the very least. We also, remember, we also do combine those things with the Soul Blight and, where is it? Where's the, Village Priest go? Oh, he's over here. Soul Blight and, okay, there's that leadership dropping. Oh, that's the Dread of the Dead Gods. Minus 25 leadership. I'm just checking out how much of the leadership is dropping. And there's that Doom and Darkness upgraded, minus 29, and Discouraged. There we go. Alright, this unit is, 90% HP and starts crumbling away. Pretty good. Alright, and then again, comparison here, these guys are still at more or less full leadership because we're not using those abilities here. But at least these guys get to fight without, having the crumbling and do all the work. Or maybe not all of it, but a fair amount of it. Anyway, the bounce power is very much in our favor now at 100%. Just going to have to wait until the enemy melts away, and I guess we no longer need those anti-leadership abilities, as we can simply just wait out the enemy to crumble. And since we're in a pretty decently sized blob here, the enemy are not going to be a major threat. I didn't do the Tomb Barks in this army, did I? They could certainly help the line be a little bit tankier, that I will admit, but there isn't really room because, I mean, who would we take out of the army? We could, in theory, remove the two Ushabti, but I kind of like them here because we have the Sepulchre's regiment, and, I don't know, having only one unit of Ushabti feels a little bit weird. Even if they do share the same sort of red line buffs as the Hydro Titans do. But anyway, last of the zombies are getting cut down by those halberds now. Not that the zombies were ever a threat to these guys, and the same thing goes for the Grave Guard. With that, the battle is ours, and the strength of the Cult of Mordig is pretty much done. Alrighty, there we go. That actually worked out pretty darn well. The anti-leadership does work very nicely in terms of forcing the undead to begin crumbling with, full HP, which is pretty fantastic. And, funnily enough, I guess the fact that they don't run or they're immune to psychology, to the fear and terror, actually kind of works against them in the sense that they're crumbling away and being forced to fight, rather than the ogres who can take advantage of their speed and just run away, or like a Skaven. From being constantly, anti-leadershiped away. Solid work out of our various Screaming Skull catapults, hovering between 30, 40, and 50,000 damage. The Sepulchre's, or Anointed Harvesters, rather, and got 30,000 for themselves, doing about twice as much damage as the other two units of Ushabti. And we can see, this is kind of interesting, the two Celestial Lines at 22k and 15k actually did more damage than the Ushabti, which might be a little bit surprising, considering they're a single single entity, and it's not like they're a gigantic, super high damaging entity like the dragons are. Dragons would be, I should say. But by virtue of the fact that they have bleed, that probably brings their damage capabilities quite a bit higher. So good for them. And, well, they still have plenty of splash damage and all that. Setup, of course, did fantastically. 726 kills and 71,000 damage. And our two higher titans never slouches, ever. Alright, occupy. Oh, lovely. Enemy killed in battle, Storm of Necromancy. Well, you've seen that many a time. Don't collect the income here, at least for now. Keep the Grand Ossuary, but probably not super long. And I guess we'll start with the Obelisk and then change it up. Looking to quickly take the rest of the Zandri provinces. But maybe not wipe them out and just allow them to keep this place and vassalize them after. They don't like us right now, but that's going to change as soon as we can peace out. I'm just hoping that we can maintain, I guess, this entire territory, but then let them essentially have most of this. Mostly because I just don't care about administering it anymore, especially since we're at the tail end of the campaign. Actually, speaking of, I guess since we're very near the end of the campaign, I will do one last round of name giving. And, ooh, actually, that's a question. You know what? Let's name some of these guys. I was going to, well... yeah, it doesn't matter. I was going to give some of these names to the Petra army in particular, but I don't know if we'll ever get that into combat. So I guess we'll do this. You will be Petra's blessed... wait, no, Petra's sun-blessed blades. Hey, if Settra can have a blessed blade of Petra and it'd be a halberd, apparently, then you can have a sun-blessed blade and be a halberd as well. And you can be phalanx of Petra, which actually makes a lot more sense on the halberds or the even more likely the spears. But anyway, the other... okay, I'm not sure who of these guys are going to be keeping. Tomb Scorpion. Alright, if you get into combat, I'm not sure that you will be Scorponok. We have, let's see, what do we have here? Tombbark. Who has a Tombbark that's definitely being kept? You do, you can, oh, actually, you know what? We should name one of the Tombbarks in the TOMBFLEET under King Rakash. So the first one, you will be Wanderers of the Dead Sea. And, oh wow, I'm actually kind of shocked that that fit. Well done. What about Kalita? Where are you here?
The goddess.
Alright, let's name one of your bone giants. You can be Rock and Bone. Did somebody say Rock and Bone? Anyway, Ushabti. Alright, let's name some Ushabti. Ooh. Actually, I think we're at 3 out of 4 in terms of Ushabti names in Lamazash's army. Kunman, Hakors, Hackers, Singing Blades of Joff, and I guess we'll name 1. You can be Undamaged. Guardian. Actually, no, you know what? I'll put that one in the other army. I just realized that we do have unnamed Ushabti in Setup's army, who just fought. You will be Joff's Enforcers. Because you can be together with the Singing Blades of Joff, feels on theme and all that. And then you, Ushabti with Great Bow, can be Hawkeyes of Libaras. Oh, there we are, isn't it lovely? Alright, what was I saying about King Setup? Yes, we have you. And we have you. Wait, no, that's Katep. Katep, Setup. Anyway. Yeah. Ushabti, you can be undamaged. Guardians. Lovely. Alright, anything else? We've got Sphinx to name. I think we're almost out of Sphinxes. You two are unnamed, though. Alright, so let's do you. You can be Riddle Me this. And like so, for one of the Necro-Sphinxes. And let's see, we have Chariots. Ooh, do I have any Chariots left that are unnamed? What about in Alcazar's army? Dune Racers? Yes, okay, so you have the regular Chariots, which are unnamed. Huh. I thought you were named, but apparently not. Alright, good. Works for me. Grease Lightning. Like so. And then we'll do one last one. How about... back to Kalita. I gotta get with the Sepulchral Stalker name. I just can't resist. And hey, we have one pretty Sepulchral Stalker here as well. You can be Sidewinders. Lovely. I love you, Sepulchral Stalkers. I'm gonna miss you. Anyway, let's see what else we got here in this particular turn. Whether we have to move anybody. Prince Temp. You're still on the way, but you should find that book for us in 2 or 3 turns. And I'm just not gonna bother moving Prince Scout, I think. Honestly, I'd delete him, but I'm kind of attached to him now because he's been with us from basically the beginning. Just let him end the campaign sitting there. There's nothing else that we need to scout out there, you know? Yeah, no. Anyway, let's skip on by and end the turn. Belagar Ironhammer will declare war upon us. Well, perhaps unsurprising. Perhaps he wants to take advantage of Karagyar being unoccupied. We do have other armies nearby, and, well, I guess we'll just have to see how well he stands up to Hakor. Oh, the Sires of Morcaine will also declare war on us. Good for them. I guess Mr. Imric just needs more territory. Ally mission successful. Ooh, the Yoshiotla mission was another Wood Elf Confederation. Interesting. They're starting to get a big ol' pile of Wood Elves together. And hey, there's some of those buffs for Carrion with the +5 for armor-piercing weapon damage, putting them up to currently 75 weapon strength. Actually, already close to hitting as hard as Ushapti. Still fragile garbage, but, you know, at least hard-hitting fragile garbage. And charge bonus. Charge bonus could probably use a little bit of work. Anyway, if we're buffing those Carrion, might as well give them perfect vigor as well. And I think nothing else here is super critical. Admittedly, it would be nice to get the additional buffs for, you know, some of the other units, but all the constructs are already so strong that not that it matters. Anyway, you, Rakash, I guess you are still going to move this way towards Gorbad Ironclaw, assuming, of course, he doesn't get ripped apart by Teclis. His army's kind of meh. Depends. I guess we're just gonna have to see. We could just land a Tal-Shinar rather, or Myrmidons, but decent likelihood that they don't even bother. Now, Ashok the Bloody may attempt to attack King Rakash, so we'll, I guess, give him some levels. Definitely want Dune Rider for the... Oh, it's Carrion and Toombarks. Carrion and Toombarks. Okay, that's everybody. Easy enough. And then we have... Yeah, at least your red line is super easy to do. We got 2 points to spare. Alright, I don't really care about the ambush success chance, but wins the magic power reserve, I most definitely do. And here, I guess we'll take the magic item drop chance. Why not? Guess we could take the casualty or punishment trade, but I think we're maxed out due to our global effects, so it doesn't matter. Now we will need magics for this. Now let's quickly move through Keeper of Lore into... Okay, we'll definitely want Spirit Leech and Life Leeching maxed out. That's really the main thing that we want out of you. I guess you couldn't miss out on Soul Blight, and you know what? Fate of Buna is going to be pretty helpful for you as well. I was hoping to go already into Vicious Curses, but frankly, this army might need all the magic help it can get, so let's go with that, and now start moving through Runic Staff. Yeah, get you a little bit more armor. Up to 100 armor on this Lich Priest between his items, so that's pretty nice, if nothing else. You can max out at Keeper of Lore, I guess. Not that we really need it. Grab 2 points in Usek's Incantation of Desiccation, as it is quite helpful. I don't really care about Osirian's Incantation of Vengeance or Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting in this particular army, so we're probably free to move through Runic Staff. Let's actually max these out because they're fairly highly likely to be used. Could also grab Power Sap for more magification. Speaking of... We now do have these spare canopic jars to give these guys items, but I'll do that between the episodes if I remember, mostly because it's not super critical at this point. And Settra, I guess we're starting from the top again. Go hit the Barrow of Malice with a quick little auto-resolve. I might actually just ignore this and let somebody else go and grab it like Khalida. Heroic victory for this? In Settra's army? There's another full stack nearby, is there? Honestly, even if there is, it'll just make it more interesting. This is not worthy of Settra's time. Too many tier 2 troops. Occupy. And then heal up to as best you can, and then we'll trade this territory away to Mr. Imric later on, or possibly Teclis, depending on how we do the territory there. You, Khalida, you're gonna move to Split Tusk, and then bounce onward towards Mangy Marauder's Hold afterwards, and ooh, I did want you to get your flying snakes. I'll resolve this. I mean, we've beaten twice as many troops with no problem at all with Khalida's army. Not worth fighting a single little army. And then you can go into worship of Petra, I guess. Anyway, what I wanted to see was this. What are we at in terms of the Ghost of Pawash? Yeah, they're at 100. Meaning we should probably start building up those coatl. Alright. Let's do this then. We'll risk them rebuilding at Mangy Marauders Hold. We will declare war upon the Serpent's Harem. Like so. Why declare war on them? Because Oshiotle is near them. And I'm hoping that the proximity reduces the cost of coatl so that Khalida can have 2 flying snakes in her army. And we'll see whether she can or she can't right now. Alright. Ghost of Pawash, did they get reduced by any amount? 58, very, very slightly. Not enough to immediately build 2, but hopefully next turn we can build a second. Maybe not next turn. Okay, we need to complete the next mission for Oshiotle real quick. What's your closest mission? Alright, so King Omhaf is quite far. Delzus is here at Brewar's Lair. Alright, so maybe we book it on towards Brewar's Lair quick as we can. Let's pick Delzus then. And then I don't really care about Golden Order because I'm not really interested in any of their stuff. Knights of Calidor, not gonna go for Admiral Leech, let's go for Phaecia. Order of Lore Masters. Oswald Stahlberg, yeah, I think you're gonna die. Court, Jade Court rather. Delzus, why not? Alright, that looks good to me. Alrighty, are you able to reach Brewer's Lair? Ah, you are, in one bound as well. Well. What do we have defending here, I might ask? Huh? I thought it's... Oh my. Would you look at... Whoa. Would you look at that? We've got 3 armies together, and that is a concerning amount of shades. Huh. Go into ambush stance right here. Okay, I can see why this guy had all that extra strength, eh? Now, here's a question. Will they attempt to proceed towards tidal flats? Alright, I'm gonna have you go into raiding formation so that you're visible to the AI, right outside of tidal flats, and we'll see how these armies respond. Should be interesting, though if Lamazash's ambush fails, we'll need to apply points to him just in case. Now, Lamazash, you have Ushabti, and we gave you Blessing of the Asp. And I believe that's the only... Yeah, okay, I guess we'll just make you hit harder. You have Returned in Madness, which is fairly critical. I'm gonna say grab Ceremonial Bandages. I just don't trust the sheer amount of shades that the enemy has here. It's too concerning. We Are the Elite on you, which was the important thing. We don't need Empower the Titans. Let's go for Tomb Strike, and... I guess over my dead body, a little bit of extra speed won't go amiss, I imagine. Now you, Light Mage. I guess we could get Onslaught, frankly... Well, max out Net of Amantok, I guess. Frankly, once again, the Lore of Nehekara would probably have been the better pick here, but all good. I suppose if we remove the artillery, then we can put another Nehekaran mage. I did originally say I wanted Lore of Nehekara as the first mage, and then another Lore as the second mage, in those armies that have 2 mages. Well, kind of ended up not doing that. And just, well, we never had capacity, or enough capacity to have 2 mages everywhere. And I'm not talking about mage capacity, I'm talking about, you know, free space in armies. Panet, Mr. Ottert von Gerden, you have gotten yourself killed. Goodbye, sir. And I guess we can't really leave this place, Wadi al-Mutsil, because if we do, these guys will simply take it, and we don't want that. Auto-resolve, and go back and sit outside it. And its job will still be to acquire the Book of Nagash that is held by Abhishek, the whatever, and Abhishek Bloodgatherer right here, but only once we're done. Now, you, Mr. Stahlberg, I assume cannot take any of these territories because they're reasonably well defended. Katep, I'm gonna have you grab Temple of Walat real quick. And with a quick little auto-resolve. Like so. Heard Tomb Barks, eh? Well. Hey, an Obsidian Blade. I've been wanting one of these, and it took a long time to get it. And Seheket, I'd like you to move towards Katep and do a little bit of a trade here. You've been carrying these, special Tomb Guard around for a while, so you guys are gonna pop into this army. Now, Katep... Wait, what's the best way to do this? Frankly, as it turned out, we don't really need this many war drums. Maybe it's better to just have the one. This way, we can remove 1 like this and then 2 like this, and that'll do it. Yes, anything else we want to remove or trade? I think the rest is fine. Oh, we need another space for a casket. Oh, right, I wanted to remove one of the Hero Titans for the casket, but we'll do that later. You're an unnamed... Nope, you are named. You are unnamed. Yeah, alright. Keep the named ones for obvious reasons. Like so. Alright, and then we'll replace the last Hero Titan with the casket in 3 turns. So we'll have it by the time we send Katep all the way up here to grab the last book. And thereby complete the campaign. Alright, all looks good to me. Who's next? Hakor, you are heading out to Karagnar, and since Belagar has foolishly declared war upon us, so we'll be killing the, well, moving through their territory as well. Go, go, go. And this should be auto-resolvable. A little bit of damage, unsurprisingly, but not enough for us to be concerned, and it's not like we care about any of these territories either. I can't believe that Petra's Necrotech. I can't believe Karagyar was a ruin. Anyway, we'll upgrade these things, and we'll see if Mr. Belagar decides to attack. Alright, Wakaf, you have by and large taken Bel Eliad. I believe somebody in the comments a couple of episodes ago figured that Bel Eliad is probably a special location, like a special settlement. Unfortunately, it isn't. It doesn't seem to confer anything special, but I agree, it absolutely should be. Bel Eliad is, I don't know, one of the City of Dust in general, this whole place is one of the coolest locations on the entire map. Like, you gotta admit, it kind of echoes the Kadatha Plateau up here. This place. Yeah. Twisted Pillars, Kadatha Plateau. Yeah, this entire area is also pretty neat. I just like the sort of ruined fortresses, or maybe semi-ruined fortresses in the case of the Tomb Kings, on the plateau as constructed, and I like that they're sort of on opposite sides of the map. But yeah, this should definitely be a special location. Anyway, let's keep going. Thutep, you and your Sphinxes are traveling, and as you are. Keep on traveling is what I'm getting at. And you're going to go after the orcs, I think. Don't really care about the sea locations of interest. They serve no purpose anymore. We're past that. We're over 1 million in funds and treasury, gain 122,000 gold per second, and we have nowhere to spend it. And yes, we could just give it to our allies, and I have, you know, given our allies some, just to make their lives a little bit easier, but otherwise it's not the biggest of concerns. Anyway, you are going to go into Entomb Beneath the Sands right here. Heal up to max, and we'll head to one of these places under Arbol. And I take it that this isn't Moors. This must be Rictus or another one of the nearby Skaven clans. I think we're at war with them anyway, so it hardly matters, but, you know. And just so that we know who's where. Setep, you... Oh, don't tell me. You can't reach Farawardi Oasis, and you can't reach Monument of Quaff. That's a bit unfortunate. Now, in theory, it's more critical that we grab Monument of Quaff than we do this place, so we can actually head you northward here first, and then loop back down here. Because if we take all of Xandri's stuff... Huh. They have their own Scorpion King. Again, I can't say his name because of YouTube, but what can you do? Go right here. I don't want him seeing that we're there, and we'll take that next turn while Katep grabs hold of the heavens and starts heading northward. I assume that Wakaf can take care of what remains of the foolish vampires that decided to turn their noses up at Settra's mercy. Anyway, I believe that's everybody. So, let us do the building real quick. There ain't too much of it, so we'll be quick. I'll do, I don't know, Hydro Titan and War Sphinx. We have less Necrosphinxes than the Hydro Titans and other Sphinxes, so that makes sense to me. Restored Tomb, sure, why not? Where are you going? Alright, well, whatever. I don't really care where you're going. You can also build, obviously, the Royal Burial Chamber, easy. Crystal Coast, yes, upgrade those statues if you please. East Barrier. And go for more statue upgrades and more of these Hierophant's Bibliotecas. They're super worthwhile everywhere we build them. Great Idol of Walatpa's at tier 5. You are now done. Sekhmet's Needle, we want to build the... I mean, I guess we should just keep building this thing, the Faded Pyramidion, and then... Yeah, why not? We don't need to build defenses here, right? It's far enough from the coastline, in theory. In practice, we'll see if anybody lands. But also in practice, even if they do, that's, you know, one of their last mistakes, probably. You have the Hidden Sanctum. Oh, I guess you're free to just build whatever. You have a treasure tomb as well. Yeah, alright, fair enough. Go for Higher Titan, and then we'll go for, I don't know, Necrosphinx statue this time. Alright, City of Dust. We don't actually care that much about what's here as yet, but we can delete you. Temporarily build the defenses. And just in case the vamps come on down. And try to retake them. Frankly, that's one of the reasons I wanted to keep potentially the stuff at Temple of Mordig, but, you know, I think it'll be fine. Anyway, Qurashi Dunes. You're kind of in the same position. Temporarily build the skeletal garrison, and we'll deal with you later. The Great Urg. I genuinely don't care about this. Huh, would you look at that? Rebels from the Knights of Origo, I take it? They took out the settlement from the Disciples of the Maw, presumably after it was sacked by these guys. Well, we've fought a lot of Bretonnians over the course of the campaign, and I don't think we're letting them live there, even as vassals. Anyway, Zandri, you are fine as you are, and we are building you to be defensive, because we have to. However, this place can be sort of switched out. Crippled Peak, not upgrading anything, because we're looking you to try to get you to tier 5 as fast as possible. Now, this place, or these places, will build defenses. But we're trading them to the elves if I remember to do so soonish. So just build whatever. Alright, looks good. And what else do we have here? Skull Chasm, sure, why not upgrade it? Blistering Peaks, you're kind of in the same position where you are earmarked for Techlessing. And Horn of Araby, last but not least, we'll go for the defenses here, and then end the turn. Commandment available, not quite end the turn. Go for Worship of... Go for Worship of Control bonuses. Anyway, end turn. And looks like the three armies did indeed find Lamazash and will indeed attack him. And good for them, I suppose. It's a good opportunity for them to take advantage of their massive numbers and their massive numbers of shades in particular, with all that armor piercing of theirs. Though luckily for us, this appears to be the regular shades, so they have only 125 range and not anything crazy. Alright. Well, Lamazash, good luck to you again. Let's see how you do even more horribly outnumbered than when you fought Malice and 2 armies. Alrighty, destroy indeed, though will we be the destroyers or the destroyees, as we're facing off against 3 Dark Elven stacks. On the bright side, however, the terrain favors us greatly here, and I mean just amazingly. We have this very, very high hill, so a huge elevation advantage, and on top of that, this entire hill has all of these rocky formations here, and even trees as well. So the trees will protect us from the fast-moving enemy units, and then the rocks will force natural choke points onto the enemy all over the place while they climb that hill. So pretty good. Anyway, we're gonna start the battle off with our Ushabti with Great Bow, the damage dealers of our particular army here, to move towards the enemy. And why are you the only one not firing? And fire away at whatever enemies they can reach. We got a little bit of time until the 2nd and 3rd armies reinforcements make their way forward, and since this is a infantry army, fast-moving though the elves may be, they're not fast enough to catch the Ushabti, so we can essentially attack them with impunity, and there's little enough that the enemy can do about it for now. And of course we have the speed, in theory, to move back to our little fortress of a hill there. Anyway, Chosen of the Gods doing some good work with their split shots, so I do notice a fair few of them are actually sailing over the heads of the enemy, which is a little bit surprising. It's going to be interesting to see what their damage comparison is going to be like in comparison to the regular Ushabti with Great Bow. In fact, I'm actually curious right now. Chosen of the Gods, 39 and 12,000 versus 62 and 25,000. Now they're actually doing significantly worse than the regular Ushabti. Well, okay, then not all of them, but and then some of the Ushabti with Great Bow. Interesting. Anyway, obviously the enemy reinforcements have arrived, and thus they are moving towards us, including, foolishly, putting their lords into range of our Ushabti with Great Bow. Alright, a couple volleys and the first of the enemy lords will fall, and a second one will take his place. Fair enough. Maybe we can get a few shots off on the second lord as well before we have to back off. And any stray shots, by the looks of it, will knock out some bleak swords. Admittedly, the bleak swords aren't threatening because they're weak, but that's alright. Alright, a few more volleys. The enemy lord will rout with 10% of his HP remaining, but that's pretty good, all things considered. Though admittedly, the enemy's Supreme Sorceress is probably the more valuable. Anyway, as the enemy starts moving towards us, we'll pop a Vortex, a Banishment in their way. Banishment is a pretty terrible Vortex, to be perfectly frank, so I don't expect it to do too much damage. And just out of curiosity, whatever here, where is our Lich Priest? He's in here somewhere. Oh, there he is. I got 1 kill and 3.6k damage out of that banishment on top of 3 units, which is pretty atrocious. Frankly, it's probably not worth using, and you're better off just spamming Shem's Burning Gaze over and over and over again. And again, the reason that I didn't do that was because we wanted to get a few more shots off with our Shabti. And thus we wanted the Vortex to essentially do area denial, slow the enemy down, etc. So it served its purpose in that regard. Anyway, we moved back to the hill, so we're essentially fallen back to our first line of retreat, wherein we turn, once again take a few shots at the enemy, and then slow them down with another banishment. Similarly, non-overcast, just to get in the enemy's way, force them to mill around, and prevent them from closing the distance. It may not be a lot of damage, but every second that they're back there is a second that allows us to take more shots and retreat to the second or third or whatever line of retreat, where we take up our bows behind the line of terracotta warriors and Mallow Shabti. Enemies still got like a ludicrous amount of reinforcements coming in, at least nearly a full stack, plus all the enemies on field. Now let's see how they do. Now obviously, while we can see the shades in the replay, they are hidden to the player while we're doing this. And we have to wait until they appear to then immediately start firing upon them as much as we can. That armor-piercing range damage of theirs is going to be a threat to Shabti and pretty much everything. And ooh, talking about those threats, Milkot's Mystifying Miasma will hit the terracotta automatons, plus all the range fire coming in at them. Fortunately, they're heavily armored. Their shield is admittedly only bronze, which is a little bit surprising. They could really use a war drum here, but I'm not sure if I'm willing to take anything out of the army to put in a war drum. What we can do, however, is get them Fuzz protection for just the damage resistance. Obviously, the melee damage is not going to do too much. Anyway, another banishment comes down on the enemy. At the very least, the banishment looks cool, even if it's not the best vortex around. What I wouldn't do for a Pit of Shades here, or a Skullstorm, but we decided to go with the light mage in this particular army, so we're just sticking with it. Anyway, enemies still trying to make their way up the hill and still failing to do so. Shabti are firing away, and the benefit of having Lamazash be the leader of the army is that he has that munitions ability. Replenishes 15% ammunition around him, similar to the war wagons. I guess it's the same ability. But since we're so reliant on the Ushabti with Great Bow to do the damage, and we can refill their ammunition by moving them close and then keeping on firing away. And these guys certainly do massive amounts of damage. 350 kills, 64,000 damage on these Ushabti with Great Bow, for example. Anyway, with no more use out of the banishment here, especially with the enemies not really moving towards us in blobs, or really just blobbed up in general, now we're going to start the Burning Gaze spam. And, ooh, hello, we got a unit of Blackheart Corsairs, though they're probably about to take a range fire as well. There we go, gotta love those Ushabti with Great Bow. I mean, it's effectively getting hit by a ballista bolt. And just because it's fired by a big old statue doesn't mean that it's much different, so yeah. Alright. And it looks like the enemy are finally starting to close the distance with at least some of our melee units. The Hundmen will wage war. And go figure. Will wade into the fray and start facing off against some of the enemy Dread Spears, together with a Necrotech to keep them as buffed as we possibly can. 86 melee attack on these guys, which is pretty darn solid. And certainly I don't expect the Dread Spears, anti-large or not, to be able to hold the line against them. Although 6450 and 60 armor stats, basically the same as a Tomb Guard without buffs. Pretty solid. Well, actually, their melee attack and defense stats are probably significantly better than a unbuffed Tomb Guard are. But nonetheless. Alright, Terracotta Automatons only have 33 and 33 melee attack and 59 melee defense. Funnily enough, rather similar to our Tomb Guard with Halberds, which I guess does make sense, as they're supposed to hold the line in a similar fashion. Unit of Dread Spears tries to push through and apparently tries to hide from the onslaught of range fire from our Ushabti by sort of moving closer to our melee troops. And I have seen the AI engage in that particular behavior before, so it does work, and it usually likes to also push its range units into the melee to avoid attacks from melee units or fast movers on occasion. At the very least, when it can take the opportunity to get away. Anyway, we continue to hold the hill quite well, I should say. The enemy has attempted an assault from pretty much every side, but thanks to the natural choke points and the high elevation and the both massive damage and staggering fire from our Ushabti artillery, they're just not finding any purchase here. Though I do admit that the trees in the center at least protect them somewhat, but not from everything. A combination attack from the Screaming Skulls, Shem's Burning Gaze, and the Casket of Souls obliterates a couple of the enemy units. The bounce power shifts to about 85% in our favor, and I think we're starting to approach reaching critical mass in terms of army losses in the enemy. They are down to 1 stack of 3 now, and while they have damaged this one particular unit of Terracotta Automatons, they haven't really been able to achieve much else, and I would imagine that a fair bit of the damage on this unit of Terracotta Automatons would have come from the Melkot's Mystifying Miasma, which again in SFO does quite a lot of damage. I mean, gotta remember that in Kotep's army, we use Melkots in combination with Spirit Leech to severely damage a bunch of enemy Ushabti with Great Bow. So perhaps the enemy should have used that on those instead of the Terracotta Automatons, but anyway, more range units coming forth, Dark Shards and Shades alike. Unfortunately for the Shades, the Dark Shards are visible, and thus we can hit the Shades by firing upon the Dark Shards. And this is pretty brutal. This may not be an artillery army technically speaking, but 5 Ushabti with Great Bow and 3 artillery pieces are still, if not quite half an army full of significant range damaging units, and nearly there. Oh, and our Lord is a ranged Lord as well, so it's a fair bit. And that's a lot of Dark Elf corpses lying below the hill. The bounce power is at about, still closing in on 90% in our favor, but the reinforcements have stopped coming in. Steady, discouraged by ability, fresh. Well, I don't imagine these guys will be steady for all that much longer. They're certainly not making their way up the hill, and we are not running out of ammunition with only 3 armies, thanks to that lovely re-ammo ability. Munitions ability, whatever it is. Alright. Actually, at this point, I'm kind of surprised that army losses have not begun to tell and that the enemy has not yet routed, but we're nearly there, I'd wager. Alright, there it is. Army losses, wavering, 1 last banishment, just because we can. I don't expect it to do too much damage, but actually, we'll see. Well, actually, I wish I could really see the comparison on the damage between what was done with Shem's Burning Gaze and what was done with banishment. Alrighty, there we go. Lovely, and with that, and the Vortex ability was certainly helpful in forcing the enemy not to be as accurate, I suppose. And with that, the 3 Dark Elf armies will book it on out of there, and the battle is ours. Absolutely glorious kill defense there, you gotta admit. It's almost like fighting a minor settlement battle in some ways, but being attacked by the enemy from multiple sides as well is pretty nice on a battle map like this. Too bad we haven't had more of these, but anyway, I really, really enjoyed that. Alrighty, there we go. Once again, I'm not sure the last time I recall that the terrain favored us so much. Truly, the blessings of Geheb and the god of the earth were upon us as he arose a perfect hill position for us to defend against the onslaught of the dark elves and his Ushabti. I was about to say cut them to pieces, but by and large, mostly just blew them away. Look at the damage. 45,000 damage, 48,000 damage, 113,000 on these guys, good lord, and 713 kills, 88,000 damage, and 75,000 on the Chosen of the Gods. Hawkeyes of Libaras, and, well, every single one of them did great, and vastly outdid all the other artillery pieces. And I know this is like the 5th time I'm saying it, but yes, this army would be much more powerful if we just spammed more and more of the Ushabti with Great Bow, because especially in this army, they can fight well enough in melee to not really need any other units, but the reason I don't do that is because it's already obnoxiously strong to have 5 of them, so, you know, lovely, lovely fight. You gotta love a good hill battle, you know, when you're completely outnumbered and you hold a hill, it's just magnificent. Anyway, we are technically in enemy territory, so I guess we'll bind souls. Oh, would you look at that? Ashok the Bloody will indeed actually attack the Tomb Fleet. Interesting. Well, I was hoping to get the little birdies into a little bit of combat, so let's see how they do. So, I wonder our stats like 60 armor with the Emblem of Withering, armor sundering, of course, as well as 3251 melee attack and defense. Kind of similar to Felbat's, lower melee defense than Felbat's, but I think maybe slightly higher melee attack. 75 weapon strength is solid, and as to whether we can make too much use out of it once the charge bonus is up remains to be seen. It's a minor army though, so it shouldn't be any kind of real problem. Go. Alrighty, here we go. Destroy indeed. Here comes the debut of our Tomb Fleet. And while the enemy army may not be a full stack, it is at least a 3/4 stack, and they've got significantly higher veterancy than we do, on top of the fact that half of our army is made up of carrion, which are trash. But anyway. Anyway, should still be good. And once again, do just imagine that our Lich Priests and King Rakash are in fact they have magically enchanted horses that run on water, okay? Or you can imagine that they're on the ships themselves. Would be nice if you could get a tomb bark mount for some units, wouldn't it? They're already support units. You know how the Chaos War Shrines, Chaos has their Sorcerer Heroes ability to go on Chaos War Shrines. Why not give a tomb bark mount to the Lich Priest? I think that would be very, very nice. And we got Necromancers on corpse carts. Actually, I think that would be perfect. Come on, game. Or I guess this is an SFO unit, so come on, SFO. Anyway, here we go. We're going to start the battle off by moving in the tomb barks. We're actually separating them from each other a little bit because the Khemri beetles wouldn't stack with each other. So we're essentially moving them around in 2x2s. Otherwise, we're just waiting for the enemy to engage a little bit before sending in the carrion. Now, normally, we'd just be covering over our entire army with the carrion and such, waiting for the melee to engage so that we can engage the range. And here we kind of do the same thing, at least with the enemy artillery pieces, who get torn to shreds by the Flock of Joff rather quickly, and by the regular carrion. Aw, they're so tiny by comparison. Good luck, little guys. Alrighty, over on our left flank, the enemy boar boys have attempted to extricate themselves from their fight with the tomb barks, and we're going to punish them for it by once again landing Great Eagles, Last Visages, and Carry On My Wayward Sons upon them and start dishing out that damage. More importantly than that, we have Usek's Incantation of Desiccation, which is what we were waiting for, as the enemy is now blobbed up enough for us to debuff them all considerably. terribly. And look at those regular orc boys and even the big ones. Now, they can't do melee attack and thus aren't a major threat to the to the carrion, which allows us to take advantage of the high damage dealing of the carrion despite their extreme fragility. I'll land upon them and rather quickly turn the battle in our favor. A massive drop of bombs, as we saw from the flock of Joff, also hit 2 or 3 enemy units. The Lord got pretty much defeated by King Rakash, and rather quickly, though it wasn't an ambush, it may as well have been, as the enemy army gets torn to shreds and gets ready to rout. There we go. The last of the enemy begins shatters, and the battle is ours. Damage-wise, it looks like we did pretty good. One of the carrion units lost 1 unit and maybe 20% of their HP, but since we did most of our damage and during spell time, we were able to minimize those casualties. We'll see if we can put the same sort of method or tactic to use against Warband Ironclaw. Of course, it remains to be seen, because he does have giants and trolls and other such things in his army, but I'm very interested to see how we fare there. Lovely little debut. Alrighty, there we go. Very nice debut for our TOMBFLEET. I'm quite interested to see what the damage distribution looks like. So roughly hovering around 10k, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, for the various tomb barks. And let's see, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 11, and 4 damage, 4,000 damage on the various carrion units. Now, keep in mind that the carrion were kept back for a little bit while, as the combination here relies on forcing the enemy to sort of get close together around the tomb barks, at which point we pop off that Usek's incantation of desiccation, which gives us a 45-second window of a massive reduction in melee attack on all the enemies, and thus allows for the carrion to touch down and do their thing. As for the named carrion units, looks like the one unnamed one did the best, followed by the carrion My Wayward Sons, and of course the flock of Job, but they had the death from above. Our 2 eagles did about 19k damage, and regardless of the buffs, they did more damage than pretty much everything else, but that's unsurprising. Eagles and SFO are absolutely magnificent. Again, for those of you who watched it, recall the Imric campaign and our Eagle Prince's conquest of like half the world, so yeah. Anyway, I guess we can't heal the single entities. We only lost 1 carrion, so Binding Souls is probably not useful. We'll end this march. Yes, King Lamazash's ambush was indeed foiled, but well, it hardly did anything for the enemy. And hey, we did the... Hello. Oh, Mads Map. Oh, curse you, Mads Map. Oh, ever since that thing with Thorgrim. Anyway, the salt continues. Yes, okay, so we only wasted 1 turn on Khalida, and we're free to build her second flying snake, and I'm going to pray to Joff, or, well, to SF in this particular case, actually, that the single entities comprising of the Coatl, by virtue of their speed, are not instantly obliterated in auto-resolves. If they are, we're gonna let them die in the same way that we did the tomb barks and just get more other snakes. Not much we can do about that. Alrighty, audacious, enemy killed in battle, pestilence scheme, settlement infected, ugh. Oh, that's one of these settlements? Okay, never mind, I don't really care. Settlement infected, pestilence scheme performed. Oh, good lord, that's a lot of pestilence schemes. And tireless scavenging, appropriate, since our TOMBFLEET / carrion army did debut. It is good for the carrion to now have perfect vigor as well. Now, can we risk auto-resolving what remains of this army is a big question, for the simple reason that I don't know how much damage it'll do to this army, and it kind of concerns me. I guess we could land here in our friendly territory right after that and go after Warband. Alright, I just don't want this, it just bothers me that there are remnants of this army floating around. Let's see what this does. Yeah, okay, killed half the carrion, and why did it damage this tomb barks? Okay, I don't know. Oh, AI. Okay, yeah, just endless march so that you can speed up and then make sure that you can land here in friendly territory. I don't imagine Warband will be able to reach us. We'll heal up here. to full, and then we'll land and attack him next turn. Might as well channel a little bit. We certainly need the mana, magic, whatever, in this army. Freaking epic jars, and we got a new tech to pick, which is gonna be... I guess we could get Ritual of Soth to power up the Tomb Scorpions further. The Sphinxes don't really need it, admittedly. And oh, we're almost done with the damaging text. We also do have magical loci, and you know what? Actually, let's actually start with the magical loci. The cooldown on the spells of the Hydro Titans is actually pretty nice. And then there's all these and all. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get through all the texts before the end, I will admit, but, perhaps not the most surprising thing in the world. You cannot reach Vaults of Plenty, but that's a place we will most likely besiege and actually get a fight out of, so that I'm at least excited for. You're gonna move here. Let's see if they're building up an army here. Settra, they are not. But it is a tier 5 settlement with some good stuff. Lots of exalted blood crusher, exalted bloodletters, some blood crushers, even a bloodthirster, and a soul grinder. Yes, they should definitely sally out against this. And they should think that our chariots are weak, which they have a tendency to do. And ooh, wait, are we in range of the last of the territories? Okay, I want to see if I can make this happen right now. So Katep, you move to the Hall of Heavens, because we can use Sahaket to reinforce just to guarantee the place falls real quick. Close victory, it's going to be a lot closer. Obviously, there's no need to fight this. Katep has won against twice as many enemies of the Tomb King variety, and not only that, but also with a weaker army than he currently has. Auto-resolve now. It's going to kill off... okay, never mind. Why auto-resolve? Just why? Why would it... It wouldn't kill anything in this army. Why would it then kill off the Tomb Scorpion when we now have twice as many troops? And it was already a close victory with low casualties. Why? Freaking auto-resolve, man. Okay, auto-resolve. Just do it. Alright, there you go. I genuinely don't understand why it hates the Tomb King so much. Storm Necromancy, and then King Setep. You take the Monument of Kuaf and complete Zandri territory, right? Unless I'm mistaken. Occupy. Like so. Fleet Port of Terror is now secured. Go for... I don't know. I guess construction reduction. Well, we could go for public order first. Anyway, with the Zandri's territory secured, I think we are free to peace out with them, yes? How do they feel about these guys? We should allow these guys to live in... I wonder if they'd become our vassals if we were to give them Hashishin's lair. Very close. In fact, they'd be willing to do it for a mere 20,000 gold. It would allow Zandri to keep one territory and then Bretonnians keep one territory. We could even move here and then transfer this stuff to Zandri as well. I do feel bad about taking all their stuff. It's the silliness of not being able to vassalize them. Yeah, alright, fine. Zandri, we will peace out with you. Like so. And then we will trade you Wadi al Mutsil. Nope. Wadi al Mutsil for vassalage. Like so. Become vassal, peace treaty. Give. Everything good? I think everything's good. Alright, I hope I'm not missing something, but let's just do it. Panet's gonna be punted out of the settlement, but whatever. Panet the punted. And, oh, Zandri, we can immediately get the trade going with you as well. Lovely. And see, they love us already. Already plus 110 in terms of relationship, and rising very, very high as well. That's what I wanted, so these guys will have a full territory, and they got defenses here as well, so they shouldn't easily be able to, get wrecked by something coming out of the Maelstrom environs. Now we should be able to wipe out these guys rather quickly, and by virtue of being done with that, we're free to move towards these guys. So Panet, start wandering through the Oasis of the 1001 Camels. I would actually like... Ooh. Now there's a question. If we want to vassalize the Bretonnians, which we absolutely can... I wonder if they'd survive. Currently, they're not at war with these guys, so if we give them this territory and vassalize them, they would become at war with them. Oh! Look at that, these guys hold the territory here as well. Wasn't expecting that, but I'm fine with it. All good. Yeah, anyway, I think with that, folks, we're out of time, and I'm going to call the episode here. We are pretty much very, very close to completing the conquest of all Nehekara. Just these three and a half provinces are remaining, and that'll be another goal for this campaign, and that will have been achieved. Might even be able to complete it next episode. Otherwise, we're just looking for fun fights so that we can do, all while moving towards the 7th and 8th book of Nagash. So stay tuned for a few more episodes. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.